Kartik, welcome to what will be episode 6 of Behind the Wrestler. Thank you for joining us today.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me and making this video about Behind the Wrestler. I'm very excited to be here.
Okay, so what is your earliest moment of watching pro wrestling?
My earliest moment of watching pro wrestling would be coming out of my first heart surgery, flicking through the channels of the hospital bed, nothing interesting on, and I flicked through the channels and I saw Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio for the WWE Championship. And the part that I remember from that match is Eddie Guerrero had the WWE Championship and the referee was down and Rey Mysterio was down, so he grabbed the belt and brought it into the ring, placed it on Rey Mysterio and laid down, and Rey Mysterio got up and placed it back onto Eddie Guerrero, and as the referee was coming up, Eddie found out that the referee was coming up and he just turned onto his belly and tried to hide the championship, and I just thought that was funny as hell and I was hooked.
You mentioned about coming out of a heart surgery. So I don't know if many people know, but you have a heart condition. So what are some of the challenges that you faced, whether in wrestling or in general, with having a heart condition?
With having a heart condition, was very difficult growing up. Got bullied in school about it. Wasn't allowed to do any sports or any physical activity, so I always had to be the kid who sat on the sidelines watching everybody else play sports or do all the things that I wanted to do but never had the chance to do. Always getting told no. Just life was pretty hard growing up with it. Once I got older, I thought about it a lot more, and then I kind of started believing the people that I shouldn't be doing like contact sports or contact anything or anything to do with my dream. So I just gave up on life and gave up on everything until I went to a course in the city called Potama, and I met this guy named Simon Rodworth, who runs Goodfellas Auckland Fitness Gym. He took me under his wing at the age of 16 and trained me. I didn't tell him about my heart condition until an episode to do with my heart condition happened at training, and he sat me down and got me to explain exactly what was wrong with me, and I did, and I was fully expecting to be kicked out of the gym, and he didn't kick me out of the gym. He said this is a learning experience for him and also me to see what thresholds we can actually push and what thresholds we can actually reach. So he made me believe again and gave me a chance that no matter what condition you have, you can achieve your dream and your goal.
Well, so after your trainer learned about your heart condition and you had to go through the process of learning what you could do and learning what you couldn't do. So what are some of the things, some of the challenges that you found within that?
So some of the challenges that I found within training in mixed martial arts was I had to protect my chest at all costs. Whether I got kicked in the face, whether I got a knockout, hit to the face, or anything like that, the first thing that he taught me to do was how to protect my chest and see where we could push the threshold with my heart rate. My heart rate can't go past over 165 at that time. Now the threshold is 195. And that's just years of training with him and years of training with everybody else that I've had the pleasure of and the honor of training with, and trying to work around the condition was very hard. I couldn't do some of the things in training at first. So he gave me one-on-one training on a Saturday for an hour and a half, and he just went through all the knowledge that he had and passed it on to me as much as he could and as much as I was willing to take, and I just soaked everything in.
So from doing some MMA training, you then looked for a pro wrestling school. How did you go about that, and how easy was it finding a school?
So we're talking about 2013, 14, 2013 we're talking about. And I was looking for a professional wrestling school, and I was still going to the course that I was training at as well. Trying to find schools were very, very hard. I got in contact with a certain company that I had no reply from, and I emailed them multiple times, told them about my condition, and they I got a reply one day saying they weren't interested. I'm too of a high risk. I wouldn't be able to do the things professional wrestlers do, and I gave up on looking for a school for about 6 months, and then I was just sitting in my room and just flicking through TV channels, watching pro wrestling, watching Eddie Guerrero, watching Rey Mysterio, watching all my favorite wrestlers, and I just searched up how to become a wrestler, and NZWPW website link came up, and I clicked onto that, and it had a trainer contact information for Graham Hughes, and I messaged him. I didn't tell him about my heart condition. I just messaged him about training. How does it work? Where do I show up? What are the times? And he replied to me within a couple of minutes and told me that training is on a Saturday for 3 hours. Here is the address. You're more than welcome to come in and check it out. And so I showed up that week of the Saturday, and I walked into the door. I didn't put my bag down to introduce myself. I met Graham Hughes, and I told him I had a heart condition, fully expecting that getting the same answer that I got from the previous academy that I was trying for, fully expecting the same answer again. He just turned around and said, training starts in 5 minutes. We go for a block run as a pre-warm-up, and by the time you guys come back from your run, the other warm-up is all set up. He said you can place your bag down here. This is everybody else. Everybody was very, very welcoming, and I will be forever grateful for that moment.
So when you first started training, do you remember who was there training already?
I remember Crystal Kane, Frankie Quinn, Charlie Roberts, Aloro Maximo was still training at that time. They're all currently training now. Um, but those are the people that I met on my first day. Um, I know I was the new kid coming in. I had to earn everybody's respect, which is what every academy you have to earn everyone's respect. You don't get respect, you earn it. And I was fully willing to do whatever it took to earn everyone's respect in that academy and become very good friends with them as well.
So when you started training and you sort of jumped kind of straight in, what did you think about the training? The warm up, especially at that time, was very extensive for our school. So how did you find the training when we were doing it?
When I first did my professional wrestling training session, um, cardio wasn't really my best friend at the time, so my cardio wasn't as great. But I was used to the routine that was laid out due to the MMA training, going in a circuit and doing drills for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes even. So I was used to the circuit routine, but the warm up training and stuff was really intense, and was really hard. And there was times where I just wanted to give up, and I'd be like, this just isn't worth it. But I knew if I give up now, then how am I ever gonna achieve my dream?
So obviously, when you're training and knowing you have a heart condition, um, what is the motivation? Obviously, achieving your dream, but is there anything specifically that gives you that motivation?
The motivation would be to become champion for any place that will give me the opportunity and the honor of becoming their champion. That is what motivates me the most, is to win championships, be a champion for different promotions, different companies. If I get the opportunity or the chance to, that's what pushes me and drives me. I don't worry about my heart condition when I'm training or wrestling or in the ring. I try to push that threshold and get more past my limits and exceed my limits to become a better wrestler and perform a lot better.
So, how long was it when you started training to when you made your pro wrestling debut? And do you remember how you found out you were going to make your debut?
I think I was training about 6, 8 months. Yeah, 6 to 8 months I think it was, um, into training, and I had my first ever wrestling road trip with the academy down to Tauranga, where they did a charity show, and that was just a whole lot of fun. And a few months down the track on July 14th, oh sorry, June 14th, is um, when I found out I was gonna have my pro wrestling debut. But finding finding out that I was gonna have my debut that early, thinking that I wasn't ready. Um, but that's not my decision to make. It's my trainer's decision to make, and he thought that I was ready enough at that time to have my debut and show everyone on my debut exactly what I've learned in the past couple of months.
So, when you made your debut, um, do you remember the how you were feeling the day before, day of, just as the bell rings? Because you guys were out the first match, opening match of what became our sort of first proper show. And it's on your guys' heads to debut it and to not only debut yourself but to debut our show and say, hey, this is what we do at training. So, how did you feel before you went through the curtains?
The way that I felt the week before my debut, I was hardly sleeping because I was so nervous throughout the whole week. How am I going to perform properly? Am I going to make mistakes? Am I going to, um, you know, go out and trip? Or am I going to go out and hear crickets? Or if I'm not going to get a reaction? All those thoughts was going through my head. And I was extremely nervous. And right before I went out through the curtain, I was so nervous that my trainer pulled me aside and asked me if I was okay, and I explained to him exactly what was going on, and he just told me to relax and um, just empty your mind, just go out, and you know exactly how to do things that you have been taught. Just go out and do them. And I listened to him. I went out through the curtain. I debuted with El Oro Maximo. Me and El Oro Maximo made our debut on the same night. Also debuting our show, which was a whole lot of pressure on our shoulders, because we were the first match, and the first match of any show in anywhere sets the tone for the show on how the show is going to be, whether people are going to be invested, whether fans are going to be invested, whether fans are going to care about you, or whether they're just not going to care because you're boring and they think the whole entire show is going to be boring. So the thoughts of all of that was going through my mind. So it was really nerve wracking and a whole lot of pressure on our shoulders.
So how did that match go? What did you think of that match at the time?
Uh, at the time, I thought the match went all right. There was little things that we could have done better, um, but it was our first time. I think just nerves just took over, and nerves just got to us. But I think we pulled off an all right match. I think the fans and everyone was invested, and I think the fans from that night and everybody from that night had a great night, and I think we set an good enough atmosphere to kick off the show, and hopefully everybody went home happy after seeing the main event.
So from there, you went on to be a Hughes Academy regular on shows. Um, Obviously, at the time, it wasn't a guarantee. So do you remember when you were told you'd be getting a match at the next show, which was the August 2nd show, um, and who'd be wrestling, and how did that all come about?
So I just thought I wasn't gonna. That was my first show, and I thought that I won't be on shows for at least another year or so because I had more things to learn, more things to perfect. You never stop learning in the wrestling business. There's always new things that you learn every single day. But the August 2nd, 2014 is probably one of my favorite matches. Prior to that, I was having some personal demons uh, at the time. And a week before that show, I found out that I was going to be wrestling and who I was going to be wrestling. I came out of hospital a week before, had training the Saturday the week before, and I found out at training that next week that I was going to be wrestling Graham Hughes, and I was like wow. Um, get to verse my trainer who taught me every single thing that I know. Was very nerve wracking knowing that I was going to verse him because I didn't want to disappoint him in our match or disappoint anybody in that locker room and disappoint the fans that if he can't perform against his trainer, then what has he been learning?
So during that match, right near the beginning, um, I went to punch you in the face and didn't quite go as planned. So do you remember much about that situation and what happened afterwards and before and what it was supposed to be?
Yes, I remember um, coming out of the curtain. It was a three 2 out of 3 falls, British rules. I speared my trainer and got the first fall, and the rules of that is you have to wait until the opponent is up on his feet and is ready to go, and then the second round starts. And as the second round started, uh, I went to go shake Graham Hughes's hand as he extended his hand to me, and I got full on punched in the face. Um, was not expecting a full on punch in the face, so I dropped straight to the ground. He put me in a headlock and asked me if I was okay, and I said yes, and I was like, "What did I do wrong?" And like all these thoughts were going through my head. He goes, "Nothing. That was just an accident." And I was just like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yes. Are you okay?" And we just had a laugh about it, and that was fun.
Okay, so just to clarify, it was an accident. It wasn't me punching you in the face. Um, so that match you mentioned that it's one of your favourites still. Almost 3 years later. So what about that match specifically? Because obviously you've been wrestling for a few years now. You have lots of matches under your belt. So what still makes that match your favourite over the last 3 years?
That match is still my favorite match, my first favorite match, and I don't think that will ever change. Because prior to that, I was, he, Graham Hughes didn't know at the time, and I sent him a text message a week later, thanking him for the match and explaining to him that me having that match, uh, he saved me from quitting wrestling altogether. There was a whole lot of things that were happening in my life at that time that I didn't know how to handle and was really just giving up on everything and anything I could, um, but having that match with him and having that faith restored in me through him was really helpful, and I will be forever grateful for that. He saved me from quitting my dream. He saved me from quitting most things in my life. He's helped me through a lot just through having that match, and that match will forever be one of my favorites match. No matter how many years I have the pleasure to uh, achieve my goal and live my dream, that will be my favorite match of all time.
So from there, I believe the September show was the next one, when you had to do your first in-ring wrestling promo. Um, Even though it was a short promo for you, do you remember the feeling about that and how you felt before you had to do it when you found out you were going to have to do an in-ring promo on the microphone, and the situation around that?
So at that September show, on the actual day, we had training before the show, and I found out the night before that I was doing an in ring promo on the mic. I was very nervous. First ever promo that I had to do. Coincidentally, that day of training on the show was promo training, and we just ran through how to cut promos, whether a face or a heel, good guy or a bad guy, and we learned for 3 hours how to cut a promo, and we were just joking around at training, and Graham Hughes' wife asked me, "Oh, when is your first ever promo?" And I said it's tonight, and we just had a laugh about it, and I was really nervous. Um, Going into doing the promo that night, I didn't know exactly how to deliver a promo. First time doing a promo, so I just thought about it in my head on how my favorite wrestlers when I watched them on TV, and thought about it how they went through promos and cut promos on live television, and I just thought about that throughout the whole day, throughout training, throughout setting up for the show, and throughout the whole show until I had to go and cut a promo. Um, I believe I didn't cut the best promo, but I gave it a try, and it was my first promo, and I got some very good feedback from all the wrestlers that were there that night about delivering a promo. And I took that into account, and I'm very grateful for that advice as well.
From there you went on to wrestle Kenneth in his pro wrestling debut. So what was the difference between being the inexperienced wrestler to being the more experienced wrestler out of the two? Because obviously, if the match doesn't go as well, it's more on your shoulders and it's more your responsibility. So, what was the pressure, and how did you feel about that situation?
There's a lot of pressure going into wrestling Kenneth for the first time. There's a whole lot of pressure on my shoulders on making his debut memorable and excellent performance debut on his behalf, and also showing my trainers and everybody backstage what I have been taught, and being the more experienced wrestler in that match was nerve wracking, but trying to keep everything under control and not losing your head and getting lost and trying to keep the match together was hard, and a whole lot of pressure on my shoulders, as well as not just um, my career on the line. I'm also have my trainer's 15-year plus career on my shoulders as pressure as well, because it just doesn't, if the match went bad, it wouldn't just come back on me, it would come back on him and as a trainer as well, which I was very nervous about and didn't want to disappoint anyone backstage or anybody at all, and just put on a good match. And I think we put on a good. I think we put on a good match, and I think we set the tone for that show because I believe we were the first match for that show again as well, and I believe we set the tone for that show as well, where I accidentally punched Kenneth in the face as well. Not repeating the tradition from Graham Hughes from the previous show, but it was an accident, Ken. I'm sorry.
Um, so and still that's one of my favourite matches from any show that we've done. It's definitely top five favourite matches that I've seen on our shows. So from then on, we always have a break over Christmas, and we came back with our annual Rumble show. It was the first time we'd really done a Rumble. The Rumble that you won. So do you remember when you found out that you were winning the Rumble, and how did you feel about winning the Rumble?
Um, Finding out how that I was gonna win the Rumble was like, wow, I'm winning the Rumble, because who won the Rumble gets a chance to verse the Who's Academy champion, who was Charlie Roberts at the time, and I was very very excited for the opportunity and the chance to win the Rumble and go on to face Charlie Roberts, the Who's Academy champion at that time. But also, every match that I have, I'm always super super nervous about, and a whole lot of fears and everything go through my mind. But finding out on the day that I was winning the Rumble was really awesome, and I was like, I and myself thinking about it, I don't think I was ready to receive that opportunity. There were more experienced and more better wrestlers who I think should have got the opportunity, but I was blessed enough to get the opportunity to win the Rumble and go on to verse the Who's Academy champion, which was very, very awesome.
So that match, which I think was May 2015, so probably the longest match I think that you would have done at the time. Sort of bit more pressure being main event and wrestling for the belt. So do you remember anything about that day and the process of getting yourself ready for that match?
Uh, Getting ready for that match, as soon as I found out that I was winning the Rumble and receiving that opportunity, the next day, the Sunday after winning the Rumble, I finished my job at that time, and I just went straight to training. I trained as much as I could, as hard as I could, to prepare myself, not just physically but mentally as well, going into my first ever main event at a show where it's the last thing that the fans see when the show's over. You're the main event. They're the last thing impression of the show. So a whole lot of pressure was going through my mind where to pull off a excellent match and to perform the way that my trainer and everybody else expects me to perform and um, deliver a 5-star match. I don't think I delivered a 5-star match, but I think I delivered a good match, um, which Charlie Roberts carried me. He was the most experienced wrestler out of me and him, and he carried me throughout that whole match, and I'm very very grateful for that opportunity and getting to verse Charlie Roberts, which takes off one of my wrestlers that I wanted to wrestle from my bucket list, and wrestling him for the first time was awesome, but trying to keep up with him for the very first time was insane. That man has some serious cardio that I don't think I will ever be able to keep up with.
So do you remember the finish for that match, and what that meant? And obviously, it wasn't a normal finish, and probably the most extreme sort of thing that we've ever done on a show. So, what happened at the finish?
So the finish of me versing Charlie Roberts at the May 2nd show, 2015. The finish was going to set up for the next show, which was June 13th, I believe. Kenneth was um, going to verse me at the next show. So the finish was Kenneth ran through the crowd, and I was on the top rope, and he pushed me through a table. I was very, very sore the next day, and came through the curtain, and I kind of regretted going through a table, but was also awesome and couldn't wait for the next show because that set up for me and Kenneth's tables match, which I full on thought was just a joke when I came backstage. So the next one's going to be a tables match, and I really thought that was just us just joking around, and I got told that I'm having a tables match, and this is the match that is gonna set up for that, which was awesome going through a table, but I don't think I want to go through another table for a while.
And probably not in that way. I mean, going from the top rope to the outside table,
No, not at all.
is probably not so fun. Um, so the tables match, you get this the big chance to kind of end the feud that you've been having with Ken. Um, so there was 150 people, give or take a few, watching that show. At that time was the biggest crowd that we'd ever had. Um, so how was the pressure going into that, and how was the nerves going into that match?
Going into my first ever tables match and my second main event um, match on a show was really, really nerve wracking. There was a whole lot of scary thoughts going through my mind. Is the table um, stable enough? Is it gonna hold my weight or Kenneth's weight if we are placed on it? Um, I believe that was the second longest match I've had. If I remember correctly, I think it went 25 minutes. And performing in front of 150 people was really, really awesome, but really, really nerve wracking at the same time. Um, Performing in front of 150 fans, and you're the lasting impression that they're going to see. They're going to go home. They're either going to talk about your match and how good it was, or they're going to talk about your match and say how bad it was. And they um, either choose to not watch wrestling again or choose to come back and wanting to watch me and Kenneth again or any other wrestler on that show again. And that was the goal of getting people back, and delivering a good match, and getting trying to get all of the wrestlers that were there at the time backstage, uh, trying to earn their respects as well, and going through the curtain and hopefully not disappointing anyone back there or anyone who was in attendance, and was I'm very proud of that opportunity and that match.
So around that sort of time, is you made your pro wrestling debut for a company outside of your training school. So for Maniacs United, you were part of a Fatal Five Way, which was a very very last minute, on the day of thing. So how was that going? Somewhere else, somewhere you'd never really been to before, meeting new people. What are some of the challenges of going somewhere else and forcing yourself to meet new people?
So finding out on the day uh, of of the Maniacs United show, I just got asked if I'm busy later on tonight at training, and I said no. And he goes, good, because you are coming with me to Maniacs United, and you are gonna be in a match. And I said, I didn't know what to say. All I could say was thank you, and but nervous at the same time. Going to a new place and a new locker room where new faces are there, and you haven't met these faces before, and you don't want to offend anyone or disrespect anyone because you're going to another person's academy and promotion. So you want to be as respectful as you can be. And like, first thing that we've always been taught in Hughes Academy is wherever you go, you shake everybody's hand and introduce yourself and act like, be polite, have manners. Make sure you've shaken everyone's hand and you've gone around and said hello to everybody there. And if there's new people coming in through the door that are setting up for the show, introduce yourself, help set up the ring, help bring the ring down, help set up for the show. It's just the way of the business, and that's how you pay your dues and earn your respect. And trying to introduce myself to new people was nerve wracking. So I was very very shy. Back then, still kind of am shy with new locker rooms. But I knew that if I didn't come out of my shell, it was just gonna put a bad impression on my trainer, and putting a bad impression on my trainer isn't something that I want to do. I want to represent our academy as proud and as professionally as I can, and hopefully I did that day.
So I think the hardest part of going somewhere new is getting a return booking. So do you remember your second match for Maniacs United and who you were wrestling in that match?
I don't remember the date, but I remember who I was wrestling, and it was Rough Guts Roddy Gunn. Me and him were the first match of that show. Um, Fully expecting that do as you're told kind of thing. But Rough Guts Roddy Gunn is one of the most loveliest person that I've ever had the opportunity to meet and had the chance to um, call my friend. He called me over and said, you're going to be versing me tonight. We're the first match," and he said the finish for that match is a victory roll and you're winning. And I was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're winning." He goes, "Have you done a victory roll before?" And I said, "No." So he taught me how to do a victory roll about an hour before the show, and I learned how to do a victory roll an hour before the show. And you don't realize how tall he is until you get up on that man's shoulder and try to do a victory roll between his legs. It is a scary, scary vision, but when two people work together as a team and pull off a maneuver uh, as high risk as that is really awesome. And I'm forever grateful and thankful to Rough Guts for giving me that opportunity and giving me that chance. He didn't have to put me over. He didn't have to give me that chance, but he he gave me that chance and he gave me that opportunity, which I will be very thankful for.
So you've obviously been given the opportunity to wrestle a lot of people outside of the people that you train with. So obviously having a heart condition, which you need to make people aware of. Um, how do you go about it? How do you sit somebody down and say, "Hey, I have a heart condition," and what are some of the challenges and obstacles that you have to face and have to overcome in order to be able to wrestle people who you don't train with?
The people that I don't train with, like sitting them down and explaining to them about my heart condition and what I can and what I can't do. Basically, is I just sit them down and say, and they ask me what I can do, what I can't do. I just said I could do anything that you want me to, just don't chop me in my chest, which is a big high five to your chest. That's the only thing that I'm unable to take. But if there's anything that you would like me to do, anything specific that you would like to pull off in a match or the match that we're going to have, I am all up for it. But the only thing that I ask is please do not chop me in my chest, and that's the only thing that I can't take. But most people are very, actually everybody is very understandable, and I think they respect the fact that I sit them down and I ask them if is it okay if you don't do this, and or they remember, or they've heard it from locker room to locker room. Oh, there's this guy Kartik coming down. Whoever's versing him, just don't chop him in the chest or anything like that. But he can do whatever you need him to do. And I'm very thankful for everybody who I have ever had the opportunity to wrestle in the ring, and everybody who's looked after me in the ring, and out of the ring as well. And I'll be very thankful for every single one of you.
So, you moved on from, say, sort of regular matches into being in the Hughes Academy title picture. Um, so you went on from your feud with Ken in the tables match to pretty much starting to wrestle Charlie Roberts for the title. So there was an incident with the with winning the belt, which I don't know if it's widely talked about, but could you explain the situation and what happened with all of that, the original plan and all that sort of stuff?
Okay, so the um, feud that I had with Charlie Roberts, believe it went on for a year or almost a year, um, and he he carried me throughout that whole entire feud, and um, got me ready to perform in high pressure matches and think on your feet, and and like not get lost and just perform and think on the spot. And he carried me out throughout that whole feud. I was I didn't know if I was gonna win the belt at all. There was so the incident with me finding out how I was gonna win the belt, I actually didn't know. All I knew on the day was I am wrestling someone. I don't know who I'm wrestling. Um, I all I know is I am doing a contract signing for the Hughes Academy Championship, which will be for the next show. I didn't know that the contract signing was meant to be actually for that night, and I got told that I'm actually wrestling Charlie Roberts for the Hughes Academy Championship that night. Um, and finding that out was insane because I didn't know that I was gonna get that opportunity then. And I don't know if I was ready. I still don't think I was ready at the time. I don't think I'll ever be ready, but that's not up to me to decide. That's up to the powers at be who make those decisions. But when I found out that I was wrestling Charlie Roberts for the belt that night, I was very excited because I love getting in the ring with Charlie Roberts and just having fun and trying to have great matches with him. And the contract signing was very interesting with some of the things that were written in the contract, which I still have, by the way. Um, I tried my best not to burst out laughing with some of the things that were in the contract, but
What was in the contract?
I
Um,
do not eat poo, is what was written in the contract. One of the things that I remember that was written in the contract was, I eat poo and I will be Charlie Roberts' slave for life if I lose and all of this. And Charlie Roberts is looking back at me, making eye contact, and he's trying to make me laugh. He is trying his hardest to make me laugh. And he almost got there, but I had to literally bite down on my tongue and my lip to stop me from laughing, because if I burst out laughing, I break character. Like, I'm just trying not to break character right now, and he's trying his best to make me laugh. And as soon as I got backstage, I literally almost peed my pants laughing, because that was like so much fun, and like trying to um, keep my head together. And I said, if I don't eat poo, I really don't eat poo, like just to clear that up. And I am not Charlie Roberts' slave for life, just to clear that up. But winning, finding out that I was winning the belt, um, as it was happening in the ring.
so do you remember how you said it happened in the ring? So the match itself was a 20 25 minutes, something along those lines. So I think even the show card, the run sheet had that you were losing.
Yes.
So do you remember what was told to you in the ring, and the little exchange for that, and then the how you felt after you won the belt?
So the exchange in the ring, as we were going to the finish of the match, Charlie Roberts kept saying congratulations, and I just thought that he was insane and was just blaming out random words to try and make me laugh, and he kept saying congratulations, and I didn't know what he meant by it, and he told me the finish, and we did the finish, and he told me to cover him, and I covered him, and he didn't kick out, and I thought I screwed up, and I thought I was gonna get all hell rained down on me as soon as I go backstage. The first person that I looked at was Graham Hughes' wife, and I'm just like, looked back at Charlie Roberts, and I swore, and I said, "You effed up. Why didn't you kick out? What's going on?" And he's like, "You won the belt," and I'm like, "No, you didn't kick out. Like, what's going on?" And Chris Ferguson, who was the referee of that match, handed me the belt and said congratulations, and I just burst into tears. Like, I didn't know exactly how to express how excited and how happy I was to be chosen as the second Hughes Academy champion at the time, and I just burst into tears and went through backstage, and all the wrestlers that were there at the time were all clapping and congratulating me, and Charlie Roberts gave me a hug. He was crying, I was crying, I couldn't stop crying. Everybody just hugged me, and I looked at Graham Hughes and I was like, what's going on? Like, I thought I wasn't winning this. Like, what's happening? And he's like, no, you're winning it. You just didn't know. And I'm just like, yeah, I didn't know. And but that was an amazing feeling and an amazing moment that I will never forget.
From there, you went on to wrestle Charlie Roberts again. You went back and forth a little bit, wrestled some other people, and then you lost the belt in the first Youth Academy show back of 2016, in a fatal four way. How did you feel about losing the belt? I mean, obviously, it is wrestling is fake. It's pretend. It's predetermined. Whatever you want to say. Um, but how did you feel about losing the belt?
Uh, the way that I felt about losing the belt, I wasn't disappointed or sad or anything. I was actually happy that the person who was winning the belt that night, who was Kenneth. I was happy for him because he deserved to be champion, and he uh, deserved to have that moment. And it just shows that he he busted his ass to be chosen to be the next Hughes Academy champion and to represent the Hughes Academy as the champion, which I think Kenneth did a excellent job of representing um, our academy and as being our champion, because I know him on a personal level as well, and he's just an amazing guy and a fun guy to be around. And I was really happy for him. I wasn't sad or anything. As soon as I found out I was losing the bout, I was like, okay, and that's fine with me. And I was more motivated to work even harder because my goal now was I had a goal again, because when I became champion, I actually did become a bit lazy. Kind of stopped training on the weekdays and only came to training on wrestling. I got lazy with things because what Graham Hughes calls it as championship syndrome. You become champion, you become lazy. It's just how it goes. Sometimes with some people, not I don't think everybody goes through that phase, but I was one of the people who went through it. And when I knew I was losing the bout, it motivated me again to work harder to try and earn back the Hughes Academy championship at some point. It just means I have to work a lot harder than every single wrestler in that locker room, and I have to work 10 times more harder than our current Hughes Academy champion.
Yeah, so then, just shortly after you lost the belt, you started filming a documentary for both worlds on, I think, TV3. It's on TV3, which is it's a nice little documentary. But there were some challenges filming it, and there was one pretty big incident with it where, if people don't know, the former producer for them went behind everybody's back and got something announced when you came to the ring, and I won't say what was announced, but it was bringing the whole focus onto your heart condition, which is something that you've always tried and we've always tried to steer away from it. So following that incident, you carried on filming for both worlds under a different producer, and I think what you got out of it was really good. But do you remember how you felt coming to the ring and hearing what they had said, or got somebody to say, and how did that make you feel, and how did the match suffer because of it?
So the former producer of that show just went behind everybody's back without knowing, and got the announcer to announce that pretty much about my heart condition and that I have a pacemaker. And what he said was he has a pacemaker, even though
He has a pacemaker, he's not a peacekeeper. Yep.
Yeah, it's very difficult to talk about. It threw me off everything, because I felt like all they cared about was getting their shot. And the wrestler who was versing that night was El Oro Maximo. It was meant to be a very, very special night for me and him. It was a year anniversary wrestling on shows, and having the awesome opportunities thrown not just my way but his way as well. And it just threw me off the whole match. I couldn't focus. I didn't know what to think. As soon as I went out through the curtains, I didn't know how to react. I wasn't myself. And the finish for that match was Charlie Roberts was going to come in and interfere in that match and beat me up, and he did so. And as soon as I went through the curtain, threw. I remember exactly what I did. I picked up a chair and I threw it across the room. And I walked outside and kicked the rubbish bin over and was really angry and burst into tears. And Charlie Roberts and Graham Hughes actually came to me and calmed me down and um, told me that whatever they said isn't about that, and that I'm a lot better than that, and it's not. People shouldn't. People don't think that I'm just a pacemaker, which actually stuck with me for a few months, um, where I just thought I should just not wrestle and I wanted to take a break from wrestling, which I did end up doing. I took a break from wrestling, not wrestling on shows, and um, I kind of wanted to give up because all I thought was what people thought was is that I'm just a pacemaker and people really don't care. And I thought the only reason that fans and everybody cheered me because they felt sorry for me or had sympathy for me. I don't need anyone's sympathy. I am fully aware of exactly what is my condition and how to treat my condition, and I know my thresholds, and my trainer knows exactly my thresholds, and he knows if I'm pushing myself too hard, he actually makes me stop. Um, and there's people that I call family because we are a big family. Um, helped me out a lot through the whole situation and got my head around it and um, got me to not give up wrestling, and I owe them. I actually don't know how to owe them back for that, and um, they kept me composed and under control and not to lose control, and just kept me calm, cool, and collected, and um, reminded me exactly what I have achieved so far and what I can achieve and what other opportunities may lie ahead and what opportunities may come my way. And my trainer always reminds me of what is my ultimate goal in the wrestling business, and I am no Triple H or John Cena, but that's my goal is to be WWE champion, be in the WWE as long as I can, um, perform in multiple WrestleManias, and pretty much be the next Triple H or John Cena, or even Eddie Guerrero of the wrestling business. It is a very hard, and some people may think it's a unattainable goal, but you have to. What I believe is what to push yourself and to achieve your goals. You have to set high expectations for yourself, and you have to set unrealistic goals that may seem to other people, but to you it's not unachievable, it's not unattainable. It's the matter of what you put in is what you get out, and I've been told that every single day, every time I step through the curtain or every time I'm at wrestling training, is what you put in is what you get out. If you're gonna half-ass everything, you're gonna get a half-ass result. If you can't be bothered putting in the work, then how can you achieve your ultimate goal? The quicker you get to the top of the mountain, the harder you fall.
So, sort of getting ready to wrap this up a little bit. So you've had two sort of you've had lots of good matches against a lot of really good and talented people, and obviously there's been too many to name. Two matches that stand out for me as great opportunities for you is wrestling Shane Sinclair at a Hughes Academy show, and wrestling James Shaw for NZWPW, which only happened less than a week ago, a few days ago. because this is where we are, the 8th of June at the moment. 8th of June? Yep, 8th of June. So, when you found out you were wrestling Shane, what was going through your head, and how was that match, and what do you remember from it?
Um, what I remember at one training session we sat down and we were looking back at our last show and getting feedback from everybody. Everybody was giving each other feedback. You either take it the wrong way, you take it the right way, and work on the things that you were. I'm not gonna say criticized, but was given advice on that you should work on. Um, and we sat down as a family, as that's what Hughes Academy is we're just one big family. We just sat down and we went through each other's goals or what we set out for the year. My goal for that year was to verse Graham Hughes at some point again, and to verse Shane Sinclair. And when I found out I was wrestling Shane, I was excited, but nervous at the same time because he is considered the he's called the shooter for a reason. He is the Oceanic champion, if I got that right, Shane. Sorry if I didn't.
Oceania,
Oceania
I
champion,
think.
and amateur wrestling. He is considered one of the best wrestler, or not the best wrestler in the country. In my eyes, he is one of the best wrestlers in the country that has to that New Zealand has to offer. And getting the opportunity to wrestle Shane was insane. I also know Shane as a personal on a personal level, and I have met him on a. The first time I met Shane actually was on my first ever Wellington trip, and actually heading down to Wellington for the first time, and I met him at a WPW show, and I introduced myself, and he was very he's a very respectful person, and he was just a lovely guy to meet, and actually meeting him for the first time was really nerve-wracking, and but meeting him and getting to know him on a personal level was awesome, but actually stepping in the ring with him and actually getting the what I consider probably one of the biggest opportunities that came my way to wrestle Shane was awesome, because I know how good he is. I was very nervous to try and keep up on a performance level, on a cardio level, on a physical level, um, and try not to disappoint Shane, and try not to disappoint my trainer, who has taught me everything, and to disappoint everybody in the locker room, and to just put on a good match. What I can take away from that match is I learned a lot from wrestling Shane. I know he told me the things that I should work on, which I am still currently working on. Hopefully, I am getting a little bit better at it. He gave me the experience of you don't slow down, you speed up. And that's what we've been told multiple times. You don't slow down, you have to speed up for the wrestler. Shane is a very, very talented and very, very high competitive wrestler who does not stop because he doesn't know his cardio limit. I don't know your cardio limit. I don't think anyone knows Shane's cardio limit. He can go, and he can go for as long as he chooses to. And if you cannot keep up, that's on you. Me going away from that match, I barely survived against Shane. I obviously didn't win, but winning and losing doesn't matter. It's the experience and having fun is what matters. And I had fun wrestling Shane. And hopefully I will get another opportunity at some point down the line to wrestle Shane again. And get more experience from him and learn from him as well. And take away a whole lot more experience from wrestling the shooter Shane Sinclair.
Okay, so your most recent match had been against James Shaw for NZWPW. Do you remember how the opportunity to go wrestle for WPW came about, and what your expectations were traveling down there, and then finding out that you were going to have a match and wrestle James? How did that all work and come around?
So there was we have a Hughes Academy group chat on Facebook, and uh, Graham Hughes just asked us who would be willing to go down and work a WPW show. Phil, who was doing the booking, I believe, for this show that just happened last week, and I put my hand up, and um, I had the opportunity to be booked on their show and go down. Traveling down for 8 hour drive was awesome. Driving there, driving back, not so much. Um, but driving there, seeing the sights and stuff was really cool, and actually traveling down on my own, and getting that experience of being on the road on my own, and seeing like all the beautiful things and the beautiful sights that New Zealand has to offer on the way down to Wellington. And when I got to the show, to the venue, uh, I introduced myself to everyone. I saw some familiar faces that I haven't seen for a while. Caught up with a couple of friends down there as well. Met some new faces, some of the new trainees, and new people that I haven't met before. Um, I always love going down to WPW. It was my second time going down, and Phil was just writing the numbers down for the Rumble match and the order that people were going to be coming out in. I was full on just not expecting anything and going down and just expecting that I would just be doing the Rumble, which I was happy and fine with doing the Rumble. It's just another opportunity, and that I get to work in front of WBW and work with the wrestlers that were down there at the time as well. As I asked Phil, Phil, what number am I coming out? And he told me my number and said, oh, you're also wrestling James. And I was like, James Shaw. And he's like, yeah, you're wrestling James Shaw. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, you're wrestling James Shaw. And I was like in my head, I'm thinking like, wow, what a opportunity. I said, like, thank you again, Phil, for that. And whoever else made that decision as well. Thank you to James for actually working with me. Wrestling James Shaw and trying to put the match together with him. I just asked him, is there anything specific that he would like to do? And he just said he just call everything in the ring. I believe he was a bit concerned about my heart condition and what I could take and what I couldn't take. And he came up to me and just asked me if what I can and cannot do, and I just said I just can't take chops to the chest, and I just said to him, if there's anything specific you would like me to do, I will do it. And he said, yeah, I'll just call everything out there, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy with that. And he was very respectful and respected the decision that I asked him if he couldn't chop me in the chest. Instead of that, he got me to chop him in the chest multiple times, and it's very, very cold down there to the point where my hand was hurting. And I don't know how James can take that many chops at all. Like, that's insane, the amount of chops that he was willing to take. He was very fun to wrestle. Just had a blast to wrestle with James, and hopefully down the line at some point we will have the opportunity to wrestle again. But the experience that I took away from wrestling James is and the feedback that he gave me from that was and the advices that he gave me is some very good advices that he gave me that I will take into consideration, and that I'm very thankful. One, for having the opportunity to come down to work at WPW and having the opportunity to wrestle James Shaw, and also having the opportunity to wrestle in their Rumble match that they had, just to do that whole entire show top to bottom was a whole lot of fun, and extremely cold at the same time.
So what is next for you wrestling wise? What are your um, where can people see you next, and what's the next chapter for you, for the Neo Viper Kartik? You've had title belts and opportunities, and what's next?
Uh, what's next? The next time that people can see me is June 17th at the Calson Intermediate School, which is the venue that we use for our wrestling shows. I am wrestling Taylor Adams. He's been like he's had training over in Japan, so he knows their style of wrestling as well, which will be an awesome experience for me to actually wrestle Taylor Adams, to get that experience of the Japanese style that he had the opportunity to go and learn, and bring back and show the style that they do over here, which is an amazing opportunity to actually wrestle him, and a great learning experience as well, which I'm thankful for. What else is next for me is I think I have to expand out of New Zealand. My goal currently at the moment is to fly myself over to the UK, and just go for training purposes, 2 to 3 weeks. I haven't decided specifically what academy I want to train with over in the UK, but I just want to get more experience and learn more training wise, and just be a better wrestler and step up my game, and hopefully have opportunities international wise at some point later on. But my goal for now is to train, learn, eat, sleep, repeat.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kartik, for coming and being on Behind the Wrestler. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.